Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach, and today we have back with us Dr. Virginia LeBlanc, the Pivot Maestro. DocV, welcome back to the program.
Thanks so much, Mike. I had such a great time last opportunity, so I'm totally looking forward to this.
Yeah, I know, me too, and you've got such a unique, fresh approach to the way that you work with your clients, and I just like what you do. So let's kind of dive into now the next topic of really, in some senses, dealing with change and how to plan for that and how to plan for pivots, because I think that a lot of times people really don't do enough work of looking a couple steps ahead, and then when it comes, it catches them off guard.
Absolutely, Mike. You're so right. And remember last time we talked about just, how we're in a day and an age right now of change. COVID completely changed the landscape. But, before that, there was something else. But this forcing us, into uncomfortable situations, whether, it's a loss of job or it was into our homes where we're not used to being the majority of the day, with children also in the environment, and just putting us into roles and perspectives that we were unused to, that we were unfamiliar with, uncomfortable with. It created a completely different perspective and energy and dynamics within the home, within the workplace, et cetera. So, COVID, for however people are looking at it, really changed the game. So, when that occurs, what do? Do you just roll over? Unfortunately, we've had a huge number or high rise in the suicide, and job loss, along with the numerous numbers of lives lost. So when that starts to happen, people start to question their reality, their lives, their livelihood, their perspective, and therein lies, mental health issues. So we talk about health and wellness a lot in the world, and it's kind of been a peripheral conversation, but now it's a very real and central conversation that is directly tied to our abilities to move forward, to pivot out of this situation. And we see people are going back to work and people are getting vaccinated, and, life is starting to kind of churn again. But really, it came to a standstill for most people. So when that happens, what do? Do you just stand still? Or do you redefine yourself? Do you reinvent yourself in some way? So that's really what, I have found tremendous value in this time, if you can find value in it, in a worldwide pandemic.
I've said this so many times, and let's see if you agree with this, because the worldwide pandemic at some point will dwindle away, and we'll kind of look back on it and go, wow, what a crazy time. But you know what? There was the crazy time, quote unquote, with the economic crisis of 2007. There was the crazy time of 9/11. There will be another crazy time, fill in the blank. So we as humans, personally and professionally, need to realize that when those hills and valleys happen, how do we handle it? How do we pivot? Because it's coming again. Might not be tomorrow morning, might not be the same exact circumstances, but you need to realize that when it comes, okay, cool, let's just roll with it and pivot and move on, take the step forward. Maybe it's not the sprinting you were doing before. Maybe it's just kind of scaling back a little, but talk a little bit about, I love your perspective of thinking outside the box, forget thinking outside the box. Let's think without having a box.
Yes, absolutely. And it really all starts with understanding that, life is dynamic and change is inevitable. Right. Anything that's breathing, that's living, change is going to happen. Right.
Yes.
So once you embrace that and embrace the fear that comes along with it, you really make that fear. Fear can become your ally. And that is a perspective. If you get that perspective, that understanding, and you really embrace it, can pivot out of anything, even if it looks the bleakest. If you think you're heading down the wrong road, you will find that door to go through that is the door that's going to take you to your next opportunity. So with that, with embracing change and understanding that's a part of life, the fear, just conquering that fear and understanding that it's all about connecting the dots also. So we don't think about our transferable skills. We think mainly about what we do day to day, what we've been educated for, what people tell us we have been good at, and then when we can't do that anymore, we become stagnant. We become, we just hit a door, and we don't know how to pivot. Most people don't even know you can pivot. And it is very possible, and this is coming from someone who was a professor. I worked in higher education for years, been through the system. It's not all about education in a formal setting. People think that they can't move out of a career field because they've not gone to school for it.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays, we have all types of training programs, business programs, like what we have over at Defining Paths, and just all kinds of things where you can get the knowledge, the understanding, the skill sets that you need to be able to pivot into a new, more fulfilling, happier reality. So I think just the first step is embracing change.
Yes. And realizing that it's normal. Change is normal. It's not some disruption. Yes, it is disrupting your life, but it's just part of life. It really becomes the new normal. And then in the midst of that, of handling that in the right way, not reacting to it, but responding to it, then just realizing that there are tools and resources out there to help you watch for opportunities to better yourself through it and better yourself because of it.
Exactly. And I love what you said about it's the new normal. It is. And that is a perspective. And what did we say before? Perspective is everything. And when you understand that that's the new normal, then you'll start to also understand just the whole concept of thinking without a box. I have a saying that, the box, it's meant to keep you inside, hovering about, or outside the box. But when you think without a box, you start to open your eyes to the possibilities. And that's one of the main issues that my veterans have, or my active duty military who are about to transition into civilian life, that they struggle with. Because they've had to stay in that box. They've had to think in that box because it's been life or death.
Yeah.
But it's just that ability to get there and understand, hey, I don't necessarily need this box. I can create my own box.
Well, I really think what you just said made me think of something. Maybe you've heard this before. Well, hey, guys, it's really all about this. If you either win or and the crowd goes, lose. No, you win or you learn. And I think that kind of is the word picture that we're talking about here. Like, it's just exploding the box. You feel like I've got to do this because I'm in the box, thinking outside the box. Well, thinking outside the box still infers that there's a box there to be had. You're saying, let's imagine that there's not even a box. And let's learn from what I take away from the military as I transition out, because there's some unbelievable things. In fact, I don't know the statistics, but some of the most productive and high-performing executives in the business world today have a military background, and I think they would point to the fact that I am a success today because of what I learned and was ingrained in me in the military. So what are those things, and what are the things that I want to have the freedom and flexibility and creativity to not have that box? I think that's where you're being able to help them realize that next step in their career transition.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. And it's funny, this is actually a known fact. You're absolutely right. Military who come out and once they are able to think without that box, the sky is the limit, right?
Yeah.
And another profession a lot of people don't really think about or process are performing artists.
Yeah.
This is how I learned how to pivot.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. So it's all about lessons learned. I like to say there is no failure, right?
Yep.
Something might not have gone the way you wanted. Well, what are you going to do? Are you just going to throw up your hands? What's that saying? We make, lemonade out of lemons, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's exactly, a part of just that whole embracing the fear, the change, learning the art of the pivot, and just having that kind of, well, what's next? That didn't work out.
Well, it also kind of goes back to the old phrase, practice makes perfect. Well, if you're not practicing the right way, then the perfection is not going to be perfection. So you need to have perfect practice to be perfect. So some of those ingrained traits and disciplines that you learn in the military, now that becomes ingrained, and now that same discipline comes out. Do you think you should sleep until 10 a.m. and just, no, maybe you're still going to get up at the crack of dawn and get to work. And now you're going to beat out and outwork, in a sense, anyone else, because now you've got half the day done by the time they're rolling out of the Starbucks at 9 a.m.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
It's almost like, I have a feeling that it's kind of like I have this like insight into what you do, but I don't. I'm just kind of perceiving from the outside looking in, and it's neat that, I just really feel that what you've got one foot in one world and one foot in the other, and you're kind of like being the liaison between transitioning. And I venture to say that there's a lot of people that have a lot of potential problems with the transition, and having someone like you to help guide them and be there with them and sounding board and hey, here's the next step. Boy, that just really opens up amazing opportunities for these military men and women that are transitioning out to say, what are my next steps?
And you hit the nail on the head, and that's my passion, my absolute passion. I like to help people avoid pitfalls that I fell into. Or almost fell into. But you're absolutely correct. I've been on so many sides of life and industry, and I bring my own personal experiences to the table. So this is why, one of my acronyms that I use in the company is HURT, H-R-T, and it's all about heal, rebuild, and transform. So transforming your thinking, not only in life, but in your thinking, because it all starts with your mindset. Everything starts with the mindset. So, it's reprogramming your mindset and understanding also that to be successful, to be able to pivot, you've got to work with the person, right? So we have to deal with whatever traumas or experiences that we have been through in our past, in our life too, that may be holding us back, that may be preventing us from blowing up that box. And by the way, I could have sworn you weren't read my book, because you literally quoted me word for word in something you said earlier.
Oh, wow. No, I really haven't. We're just zoned together. That's awesome. That's when you know that what you're talking about has legs, when you're just like zoned in together and you hadn't even planned it.
Absolutely. And that's what I love also about your podcast and just what you do, Mike. You're really helping a lot of people, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to, partner with Defining Paths to give us a platform and to just help us spread the word, because, I serve women, I serve active duty military at whatever stage, but usually they come to me about 9 months outside of their separation from the service, because they're in that transition phase.
Yeah, and you mean 9 months before they transition out.
Exactly.
And you know what? I would venture to say that it's anywhere in between, like, hey, DocV, I'm transitioning out next week. What do I do? I'm sure that happens, but that's really smart then when people can go, hey, I'm looking ahead, and wow, now what? And, I love how this is going to be a quote from you, because I see that you talk about putting you back in business. And I think that has a few different ramifications, but one of the ways that I would wonder if you are going with that is, the best way to be is not to put on, a mask, not to put on airs, just be you. And whatever business that you're talking about, real is rare. And when you can put you back into the business and make it creative in you. Now, I think that there's a lot of ways you can take that, but talk a little bit about putting you back in business.
Absolutely. And the reason I put you in caps is because you are the focus. You are the person, the entity that must be whole in order to get back into business mentally, physically, spiritually, or in business itself.
Yeah.
And so let's jump ahead. So from the employer perspective in business, it's about, or when you're dealing in the workplace and in the work environment, it's about preparing you for what you will face in that work environment. I personally have faced and dealt with hostile work environments fairly recently, in which, if I had not done the work, the personal development and what have you, to be able to go out into that environment, to deal with that every day, but yet still be productive, keep a positive spirit, look ahead, work on creating my options so that I have a choice, then you putting me back in business would never be possible.
Yeah.
So it's not just from, getting people, in the workplace, or what I specialize in is helping individuals understand that they can be their own boss, that they can be entrepreneurs, they can be successful and make that happen, or they can be what we call in some of my communities parallelpreneurs. We could be in the workforce and we could be doing our own thing.
Well,
it's about choice and options.
100%. And here's what I would say with that parallelpreneurs. Is that a thing? Parallelpreneurs? Because if it's not, you need to go run with it and trademark it, because that's cool.
It is in our communities.
Okay, cool.
With my partner, Susie Carter, and I, we use it all the time.
But it's like the concept way back in the day of moonlighting. I'm doing things on the side at night. But these days it's called a side hustle, and never before has there been an easier time to create that parallel side hustle, because you don't need to quit one job and have hundreds of thousands of dollars to start another career or a business. You can easily start learning on your own, on the side, on the weekends, nights, mornings, and learning and getting those skills. And now all of a sudden you have the ability, when that transition time comes, to make it a smoother landing and not just like a stop one thing and slow start to another. So I think that's a big point to keep in mind, that when you have that runway, that 9-month runway, let's say, or 6 months, or whatever that it ends up to be, boy, what should I be doing now before I separate from the military? And then when I do, what are my next steps to now, keep that momentum going?
Mm-hmm. And I should say that there is a program, like, say, for the Navy, there is a transition assistance program, a TAPS program, right? But it's a week. And it does not deal with the you. The you, again, is the whole woman, man, the holistic person, and so we work with our clients, or what I like to refer to as family, because that's my mentality, my heart, my mindset. We work from a perspective of providing revelation, reconciliation, and renaissance, what I call my 3 R's, right? So it's about, dealing with or having the understanding that, hey, I can think without a box, or, hey, I can be a parallelpreneur. And the reconciliation piece, well, what's keeping me from that, or what's holding me back, or what are the fears that I've dealt with that I can address so that I can move into my renaissance, my rebirth, and then we work with folks to put their plans together and launch them into that new reality that is all about the you, and what they want to do, not what they're forced into because they were unprepared.
And, I think that one of the pieces that you would be dealing with is, hey, when you do make that transition into civilian life, let me explain what to watch, what will be happening, what to watch out for. This is what to expect. You're going to feel this. You're going to notice that. You're going to experience this. And those things are normal. Now, when that comes up, here's some things that I've learned to overcome, work through, around, under, and all that. Because I think that, that 1 week training you mentioned, I'm sure that that's a wonderful program, but there's no earthly way you can cover every single thing that might come up. So being able to say, here's what you can do before you transition out of the military, here's what you can do as you start, and then please note, here's some things to expect. I think that will help people realize that when they get to it, it's kind of like watching a scary movie. The first time you're a little scared, and then the second time you watch it, you're like going, oh, I know what's going to happen. That's cool.
Totally. And the sooner that they begin with our program, the sooner or the more time they have to process and start to think without that box, because there's so many pressures, coming up to that separation date, right?
Yep.
So, if they're giving themselves a little runway, then
you don't feel under pressure. You don't feel, I'm in a, then you're like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm right on track here. I'm 2 months out. I'm 1 month out. I'm okay, good. I'm right on track. I think that's a big piece. So when anyone hearing this, know that DocV's got your back. She can help you become part of the family, get that planning going. And so, DocV, what is the best way that someone could reach out and connect with you to learn more?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a new website coming online, but you can still reach me at the current site. It's still up, Defining Paths, PATHS.info. INFO. So check me out there. Come over to Facebook. All of my social media handles are in DocV Next Steps Coach. So DOCV Next Steps with an S Coach. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Reach out anytime. Happy to chat. Happy to partner. Whatever. My heart is service, and that's what I'm here for, to help you define your paths.
Awesome. Well, DocV, thanks so much for your time. It was so wonderful talking with you again, and I thank you for all you're doing.
Likewise, Mike. Thank you so much. And until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.